This is not the Top 20 podcast. Sky Bet League One weekend roundup. Hell of a weekend, full of goals it was too. We're sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. George, Plymouth beat Cardiff City by 5-2. Our League One league leaders had not lost since the 20th of December when they lost at Lincoln. Before that, it was the 8th of November. This practically unbeatable team were done 5-2 by an Argyle side, and I put it to you that they were one of, if not the least fun League One club for a couple of months early on this season. And right now, they might be the most fun team in League One.
Yeah, their last three results have been a 4-0 win over Blackpool, a 3-1 away win at Leyton Orient, and a 5-2 home win against Cardiff. And before that,
4-1 loss to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just goals.
Goals.
Go. It's kind of mad how this has happened. I mean, there are obvious, you look at Talai's return from injury as being a key reason. You look at Peppel, who's played a lot of minutes this season, and now seeing, I think, the benefit of him doing so, and he looks bang in form and confidence. You look at Ronan Curtis, who was a really sharp pickup in January. You look at their team, and it's kind of a genuine 4-4-2 at the moment, really, with Sarpong and Sarpong and Boateng as playing as the two midfielders, with Harding and Edwards as the two fullbacks. Like it kind of, when you look at it as an 11, it doesn't look like it's going to be overly goalsy and exciting, but it really, really is. I mean, this was just such a good game. Talai with a brilliant left-footed finish for the first goal.
You miss 4 weeks through injury as he did, and you come back and you start finishing like that straight away. I rate that so much. He's so good. Hazard made a superb save from Kellyman. Like, I don't know how he managed to react from point-blank range, but it wasn't long before Kellyman got his first goal, still leading the line so impressively in Salek's absence. They don't really lose anything in terms of the attacking threat, but he's such a good player and is doing incredibly well. Tanner also looked really dangerous again on the right-hand side for Cardiff. So just kind of despite the defeat here, there were some positives in terms of the individual performances. Kellyman then scored. Peppel then scored twice. It's hard to keep track of when the goals went in. Kellyman then scored the goal of the game with a left foot to finish, bent into the top left-hand corner before Plymouth kind of ran clear with it in the second half. Goals from Talai and then Ross with the second goal in as many games. The centre-back from a set piece to make it 5-2. Just, for Cardiff this season, such a big part of their success and the reason why they've been so good has been how good they've been defensively. We've spoken about it loads. Like, they're a team who play brilliant football, who deserve all the plaudits that they get for their passing football. Brian Barry Murphy deserves all the plaudits for the way that he's integrated this group of players and played this style of football very quickly, despite it being completely different to what they were doing in the Championship. But that's what makes Argyle's 5 goals and the way they went about them and the way they got them so impressive, and why, for Tom Cleverley now, like, it's just, it shows how quickly things can change in football, where you've got someone who I reckon he'd have been sacked by most clubs probably in the EFL. And had he been sacked, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, what's his next job? Like, he's probably not going to get another League One job. He's going to have to really fight for whatever he wants to get to make it as a manager. Now, assistant manager would have been his next job, I think.
And then in such a short space of time, with they're retaining the faith in him, you're now looking at a young coach with a really bright future, who is showing now that given time and to work with players, he can develop a group of players into a team who can dispatch the best team in the league, who've been so consistent and so good defensively, and score 5 against them. The players that they're playing with immense belief. The whole football club feels like it's resurgent, and credit to everybody involved, because a lot of people at Plymouth Argyle, from the owner to the manager to backroom staff, were getting absolutely hammered when things weren't going well. So it's important now, when things are going well, to say, look, fair play. Like, this is a run that looks sustainable, and the fans are certainly enjoying their new free scoring Argyle side, and they've got it's going to be difficult.
Last week I told you that my brother has backed Argyle for promotion 250-1. That was after the game the last Saturday. They've won back to back since then, 25-1 now with Sky Bet.
Great bet.
He's very, very excited. Why not? Ben Peppel has 5 in 4 or 7 in 8 if you prefer. I think you're right to suggest that Talai's
injury provided an opportunity for Peppel, who was already playing well next to Tolai, and who wouldn't benefit from playing alongside Tolai, who does so much to occupy defenders. But I'm sure Peppel would have enjoyed being the main man to a certain extent and stood up very, very well in Tolai's absence, and then is able to score 2 as well upon his return. And Omari Kellyman, we should shout out, by the way, since Salek got injured, Cardiff's number 9, Kellyman's been playing most of the games as a false 9, if not all of them, and has 5 goals in 6 games since then.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I and I'm not digging you out here at all, I promise.
Yeah.
But as a tactico yourself and someone who used to host,
I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't use that phrase. No.
As a self-confessed tactico, who used to host the Athletic Football podcast.
Yeah.
With the whole false 9 thing,
yeah.
And I think Kellyman is probably quite good example of someone who is playing as a false 9. But it seems to have become just like a proxy for when someone who isn't seen as a striker plays as a striker. When actually, like, he's still, I think because of the way that Cardiff play, he does drop a bit deeper and does get involved in build-up play more. But like, he still is the focal point. Like, he's still.
I'd probably, not to dig you out, I'm not sure I would use him as the focal point in the way that you would call a striker a focal point.
Okay.
If you look at his average touch map, where he's in the same grouping as the central midfielders, Turnbull, Robertson, he is dropping way deeper in build-up than any normal striker would do. So that's what I'm talking about. The great thing is, but this was the same for Messi and everyone else, and David Villa as well, is that
it's the good stuff.
In the final moment, he is also often found centrally in the penalty spot where strikers would be. So it's more about the build-up than necessarily the finish.
Okay.
But even his goals, you're seeing, they're very different to Salek's goals, which are 6-yard box headers.
Yeah.
That's like, and he's not receiving the amount of aerial passes that Salek would have received.
I think I've annoyingly used like the worst opportunity to make a general point. Basically there.
I'm sure. Yeah, there are guys who get stuck up front who are told to like stretch the defence and lead the line. But then I think it makes me think a bit about what we've talked about before about players' tendencies. Mean that they interpret roles in a different way. So
for sure.
I think often the false 9 thing comes from if you put a bloke who's an attacking midfielder in the number 9 spot, they're not going to instantly be programmed into Josef Salek. They're going to still broadly want to do the moves that they like to do that have got them to that point, which in Kellyman's case is going to be bouncing a little 1-2 off someone and coming short to get on it. So it kind of depends who you're putting up there, really. Anyway, Mansfield 0, Lincoln 2. Huge for Lincoln. There was a point before, spoiler alert, Stockport scored late winning goal that I was declaring the automatic promotion race done. Like, done. Wow. DOD. But not quite, maybe. But I mean, it couldn't be going any better for Lincoln. They are unbeaten in 16. I'm pretty obsessed with this football club right now. I think they are, if they continue and get over the line, which I expect them to do so, we should be celebrating Lincoln's promotion as much as we have pretty much any over the last few years. And if that does happen, I'm going to be ready with quite a lot of monologues, maybe some written content as well, because they really have captured my imagination, and particularly the way they've played in the last few weeks, where a lot of teams who have a mid-table budget, who get into a position that they're in, you could imagine nerves kicking in. You can imagine that slightly tweaking performances. Suddenly you're there to be shot at. Teams are playing differently against you. It's not hard to imagine that can cause problems for teams, and we've seen it time and time again from fast starters. But Lincoln have got better over the last month or two. When things have become tougher for Lincoln, when they've been the ones to be shot at, they've got better. And I think that's unbelievable from a kind of group psychology point of view. Their first goal was a penalty. Moylan was brought down by Evans. Evans didn't seem very happy about it, but I think it probably was a penalty. The only problem was there was quite a similar one not given to Mansfield in the second half when Bayliss was nibbling at Russell. So Mansfield will feel pretty hard done by, I think. Rob Street scored it. And then the second goal, 95th minute, these are the ones we often talk about on the pod, isn't it? It's the 2-0 goal in an away end, scored in front of the away end, that seals the win that you're so desperate for, to go 10 points clear of third place and to go 16 games unbeaten. And that beautiful feeling when you are just so in love with a team, a manager and a group of players. It is something very, very special, and Lincoln they're just having a very, very special time right now. So it wasn't as brutally dominant as some of their recent wins, like Northampton in midweek. Even Argyle and Bradford have been slapped aside by Lincoln recently. But you definitely don't sniff at a 2-0 away win. They are the bedrock of promotion seasons, I would suggest. So, Mansfield just quickly taking streaky to a new level. This is colour-coded, so I'm going to show you the soccer stats page. They won 4 games from Boxing Day to the 17th of Jan. Then they drew 4 games from 24th of Jan to 7th Feb. And they've lost 3 games in a row. Wonderful.
Cup runs can do funny things to people.
Yeah, but they've always been streaky, cups or no cups. In third, Bolton dropped points, drawing 2-2 at home to Blackpool. Stockport, they beat Wigan by 4-2. Run me through those 2 games.
So here's a test for you. I've been to Bolton versus Blackpool at Bolton before.
Uh-huh.
A very famous goal was scored. Who scored it?
Was it the Mark Davis goal?
No, it was actually Stanley Matthews. No, it was Mark Davis.
Was it?
Yeah.
That is.
I was there.
Until the Wilshire and Giroud goal for Arsenal against Norwich, I think that was the best football goal ever scored.
And I was there.
That is so cool.
November 2010. It was cold. So this was a game again, 0-0 at half-time.
I really hope there's people maybe who are younger than us who haven't seen that goal, who are now watching it, and they're going to be so happy that they did.
Who was the big lad up front for Bolton who did the layoff? I'll find out when I'm... what's his name?
Is it Klasnich?
He came in with a big reputation. He was rubbish, I think.
Not Jardel.
No. That is a great example of someone who came... Yeah, incredible. 2-2 draw, 0-0 at half-time, 0-0 after 65 minutes before Owen Toll put Bolton 1-0 up. Coulson finished well to make it 1-1 before an Icarus concession from Bolton, trying to play out from the back. It was a crazy pass from Bonham that was intercepted by Honeyman. He made it 2-1. A really, really good header from Mason Burstow, though, to make it 2-2, making a bit of a habit of scoring late equalisers for Bolton. But Bolton need more than draws at the moment. It does feel like their season is kind of dwindling towards a playoff tilt rather than a top 2 finish. Still in third, but Stockport and Bradford beneath them both have 2 games in hand on them.
Was that a Premier League game?
Yeah.
So that's, this is amazing. Ian Evatt was playing in that game.
Scored, didn't he?
Scored for Blackpool.
I remember it well.
Now the Blackpool manager who managed this game at Bolton, who he spent so many seasons with and got sacked quite recently. But also, or a year ago, Ian Holloway was the Blackpool manager, obviously.
Of course he was, yeah.
You're talking about Johan Elmander.
Yes.
Who played up front with Kevin Davis. So you said the big man up front. How about 2? What's genuinely unforgivable is that the descriptions on the BBC Sport write-up from this game say Martin Petrov pulled one back with a delightful volley and Mark Davis rescued the home side with a calm side-foot finish a minute from time. Fine, but that's the first paragraph, so we'll just about forgive that.
Yeah.
Then they explain or describe the action, and we get Davies missed a great chance to score after Kingston parried a Mark Davis shot into his path. And then right at the end, it says, and Bolton grabbed an equaliser only a minute from time when Elmander and Klasnic exchanged passes to set up Mark Davis for a cool finish. That's the worst description of the greatest goal I've ever seen.
I would have a go, but I reckon in the last 10 years there have been so many good goals I've done a disservice to whilst talking through them.
Yeah, probably
in the last hour. So
yeah, fair.
So let's not be too harsh.
Stockport.
Yeah, Gary Caldwell, after a huge victory in his first game in charge, looked like he maybe was going to do it again. Thanks to that man again, Joe Taylor, who scored after 3 minutes, scampering through and finishing really well. Brad Hills immediately replied for Stockport before Taylor then got another to make it 2-1 to Wigan after 11 minutes. The new Stockport signing, Sidibe, the ball kind of hit him in the midriff for his first goal. What I really loved is that, I can't remember who it was, someone grabbed the ball to take it back to the centre circle. His teammate, but Sidibe spent quite a long time taking the ball off him because he wanted to grab the ball, almost as if it was his own right because he scored the goal. It's probably wasted a bit of time. Sessignon was sent off for a second yellow, understandably a silly shirt pull when already on a yellow card before just a couple of goals in injury time from Carl Witten from close range, who now I think sits atop of the League One scoring charts with 17 now. An amazing season for him. Asamoah was also sent off for Wigan later on until they finished the game with 9 men. Not ideal. Again, obviously some reason, some cause for optimism at Wigan, even if this ended terribly. But the first half performance was good, and having someone in Taylor who can provide some much needed thrust in attacking areas is going to be very important. But I think Dave Challoner will be really, really happy. Well, is he ever? But will be relieved that his team were able to get over the line here and kind of stay just about in contention for those top 2 spots. But as you say, Lincoln and Cardiff are setting some pace.
I wonder what does make Dave Chandler undeniably really openly happy. Maybe just time spent with his loved ones.
Food.
Maybe he's a big foodie.
I think he is.
Some good spots in that part of the world,
Lovely,
I'm sure. Wigan's eighth red card of the season. That's 3 more than any other team in the EFL. Not ideal. Bradford, they started the weekend 4th. They're not anymore. 5th. They lost 3-1 at Wimbledon. And wow, what a deserved win for Wimbledon. What a poor performance from Bradford City. It's hard to separate the two. But from a Don's point of view, sort of big pre-match narrative, I guess, and also tactical question for Jackson was what to do about Josh the Neufville coming back to Plough Lane, playing for Bradford as a right wing back. Neufville's running down the right-hand side, his dribbling ability, his power is very, very impressive and difficult to contend with. Wimbledon have been playing with an 18-year-old junior and Keng playing left wing-back recently, and that might have been a tough assignment for him. So he brought in Patrick Bauer for Nkeng. Bauer moved to the centre of defence, and Steve Seddon moved out to the left side of defence to counter Neufville. And my brother was at this game. He said it was one of the most hilarious man-marking jobs that he has seen for a long time, where Seddon, when Bradford had possession, Seddon would not look at the ball at any point. He was just standing next to Neufville, making sure that Neufville couldn't get the ball. And I thought surely Neufville would give him the slip and maybe scamper in behind and use his pace, but apparently no. When he did do that, the passing wasn't good enough from Bradford, so they couldn't find him. So Wimbledon, really good game plan from Jackson. High energy performance from them for 90 minutes, and it was 2-0 at half time. Tilly had scored a cross that went all the way in, and then Marcus Brown scored. You do see goals scored from long throws a lot in the modern game, famously, but mostly they are long throws thrown into the box and then aerials. This was Hippolyte setting Brown away for a 1-on-1 with a throw from his own half, which is pretty cool. And another really poor bit of play from Bradford's back line. Alistair Smith had a good game. Wimbledon were just excellent here. I think it's possibly their most dominant display of the season. It's a great time for it. Jackson should get quite a lot of credit, I think, because it's pretty hard to get out of a rut when you're a team that is really struggling to win. And for 2 or 3 months, that was Wimbledon. There are teams like Northampton and Rotherham at the moment, and they're showing that when you haven't got a great team or a big budget for the level and you're on the slide and you're up against it, it's really, really difficult to work your way out of that. And I think Jackson deserves a lot of credit for making some quite big calls over the last few weeks that seem to have helped shake them loose a little bit. In particular, Jake Reeves, the captain, midfield fulcrum, out the team, unused sub, and it's just the team's got better without him. It's pretty clear to see. So things like that, putting Marcus Brown up front, lots of things he's done that have worked really well recently, and it's been a big few weeks for Wimbledon's chances of survival. 6th place, Huddersfield. They won from behind at home to Barnsley. Big win for Liam Manning.
I think this has to be one of the kind of low-key big wins of the weekend, really.
Low-key big win.
Well, because Huddersfield, had they lost this, would be 1 point clear of Reading in 7th. They'd have been pretty much detached from 5th. It would have been, 5 games without a win, and they went 1-0 down. A brilliant goal from David McGoldrick, doing what Didsey does, curling the ball into the top right-hand corner from the kind of corner of the penalty area. In a first half where there was not much between the two teams, really, but the second half was much better, and Ryan Ledson played a big part in both goals, scoring the first. And then a couple of substitutes combined for the winner. Ledson passing it into Ashley on the right-hand side with a really good cross and finished by Ryan Hardy. Ryan Hardy, who we haven't heard much of this season after...
Just great to see him playing football.
Just a frankly horrendous move to Wrexham, where he barely played a minute. Well,
in some ways.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't regret it.
In some ways.
In footballing ways.
Yeah.
But in someone who... It's funny how an uber ambitious championship team can buy a striker who then ends up on loan in League One, where really I'm sure he'd have had a whole host of clubs who'd have wanted him in the summer to stay in the Championship after the relegation with Argyle. But anyway, someone who I think conducted himself and gave a pretty good account of himself in the Championship. We know that Huddersfield have a lot of strikers, and therefore him getting loads of minutes, he's going to have to earn those. Alfie May didn't do a great deal in the time that he was on. Hardy came on for Alves and scored the winning goal. So hopefully that will kickstart his time at Huddersfield Town. But yeah, if it feels like that second half was huge for Manning and huge for Huddersfield and their prospects finishing in the top 6.
What a goal from Didsey. What a man. What a man. couple of draws in and around the playoff chasers. Luton 1, Burton 1. Not the result that Luton wanted. Pretty ugly scenes at full time. Luton now 10th in the league table. They went ahead. Johnson, who'd inverted from left back to the centre of the park, received the ball and played a really nice through ball to Nicky Wells, who finished, but couldn't create more. I mean, it made me think there was a glitch on FOTMob when I saw the final stats in this game, and Luton again just barely even taking any shots in a home game at home to a team in 20th. It's not good enough. In 4 of their last 6, they've had 2 shots on target or fewer, and they invited pressure in the final moments. Wilshere made some fairly defensive substitutions, and Burton made the most of that by getting into Luton's final third, putting balls into the box, see what happens. Yeah, you open the door and they walk through it. Tavares at the back post equalising. Andy Cannon getting a shout out on the NTT20 squad for playing really well after coming on for Burton. So some pretty ugly scenes at the end. Naismith, one of the senior players and the captain, I think, Wilshere as well, exchanging some words with fans. All not well. Still, or again, if you like, at Luton. And Vale drew 1-1 with Reading, who, 96th minute equaliser. Had Reading held on, they'd have been just 2 points off Huddersfield. Very much a game of 2 halves. Caden Young on loan from Villa, youngster, he won a penalty scored by Lewis Wing. Reading much better in the first half, but then Vale's second half push was not looking like or sounding like a club that's given up. Sharif equalised Sheriff at the end, and it was great scenes at Vale Park. They need to win a large proportion of their next 6. Let's say 4 of their next 6 to really have any chance at all of survival, but they're not giving up, that's for sure. Wycombe beat Stevenage 3-1. Some debut from Nathan Lowe. Off the bench, scored 4 minutes later, and assisted the third.
Nice finish as well.
Whoa.
He's a good player. He's a good player who I think should enjoy himself in this Wycombe side. Corley Woodrow certainly is. Another player who hadn't had a great time of it recently, but scored a lovely lob to put Wycombe 1-0 up 15 or so minutes into this game. Stevenage didn't really threaten in what was a pretty drab first half. Matt Phillips had a free kick that was tipped around the post, but was always probably going to get saved. Second half was a bit different. Reed, again, a set piece that was saved and fell into the path of Reed, who prodded home to make it 1-1. But as you say, then Lowe came on and was set through and finished really nicely in the bottom right-hand corner. And then he also set up the second goal for Katina with a... I don't really know what happened there. It looked like it must have been deflected because of the way the keeper dived, but actually I don't think it was. I think the keeper just completely misjudged the strike.
He's an interesting ball striker, Katina. Like, about once every 2 months for about a 3 or 4 year period now, he just does something really good, whether it was for Fleetwood or Crawley and now for Wycombe, and I'm just kind of waiting for him to put it together a bit more consistently.
Forget that he exists in between because for Wycombe they've had some good performances recently that didn't yield anything. 8 shots here, they scored 3 of them of an XG of 0.44. So Stevenage fans might look at that and feel a bit frustrated, but yeah, it's an important win for Wycombe. Stevenage's kind of mini good run stalls a bit, 1 point between now and the league table, but they're both in a good position to try and get that 6th spot off Huddersfield.
South Yorkshire derby, there's practically one every weekend in this League One because there are so many South Yorkshire teams. We had a very significant one, Donny against Rotherham. Pre-match, there was only 5 points separating these two teams. Now there's 8. Donny, their first league double over Rotherham since 1950. They've done really well, bit like I said about Wimbledon, sticking with McCann during a really extended poor run, and he has turned it around. He has managed it. They've won 4 of their last 6 league games, 5 of their last 8, only lost 2 in that time, and they've eased away from any relegation fears. It was a bad start. Jay McGrath giving Rotherham a goal, basically poor control from a ball over the top. Nombe nipped in. He then fouled Nombe inside the box. Penalty scored, but he should have been sent off. I don't think that's even an opinion. I think that's laws of the game. Pretty clear they are. You may remember that double jeopardy doesn't always apply these days, and I think that was a good rule change. If you foul someone inside the box and you're trying to win the ball, clearly, it's just a yellow card. They get a pen. That's a pretty big punishment. If you foul someone in the box and you are not trying to win the ball, by which I mean a tug on the shirt, a pull on the shoulder, something like that, that is still a red card. And that is what Jay McGrath did. And I think he should have been sent off. And I wonder if it was so early in the game and the ref had already given a pen. You do wonder why these guys who, they know the laws of the game better than anyone, they are there to apply them, didn't do that. I think that was a mistake personally. Is it the reason they lost? No. Rotherham made plenty of mistakes of their own. Rafferty diving in on halfway for no real reason. Middleton nipping away down the left, setting up Hanlon to equalise. A half-time double sub, Middleton and Hanlon on, and they combine 10 minutes later. That's good stuff from Grant McCann. Cameron Dawson then had a shocker coming out of his area to deal with a long pass forward, couldn't control it, tackled by Molyneux, who was very composed and scored into an empty net. So poor from Rotherham as well. They only had one shot on target outside of the penalty. It's not good enough. 3 defeats in a row for them. The last 2 against teams that they're battling with to stay up, Burton and Donny. And I think Hampshire will likely be sacked soon. I think that the owner will probably use that as one final roll of the dice because survival's getting further and further away. I would say, and maybe if Hampshire does get sacked, we'll talk about it in more detail, but I think giving him this job at this stage of the club's sort of cycle, if you like, with this team available to work with, was asking quite a lot of a rookie manager. But you can't say he's doing a great job, can you? They've lost 10 of their last 13, 3 of their last 16. They've won 3 of their last 16, and they are 5 points from safety now. The Cobblers, not going well for them either, George. 2 wins in 16 for them, and a home defeat to Orient.
Yeah, I mean, this was a big relegation clash, and for Cobblers, their home form for much of the season has been okay, and has been a big reason for why they are, given how poor they are away from home, while they've kind of just about, why they're still competitive, I guess, in this relegation clash. But they were they lost this. I wouldn't necessarily say that there were loads of. It wasn't like it was an Orient display that we've seen in the past from a well inside. They were just clinical today, really. Ballard, as he does when given an opportunity, scored to make it 1-0 before Morris scored shortly after half time to make it 2-0. An unbelievable save from Dennis to keep the scores at 2-0. Sorry, that was after Eve scored, actually. Eve scored to make it 2-1, and then Hoskins had a chance at 2-1, which Dennis saved. The goalkeeping position has not been a kind one to Orient for most of the season. So for the keeper this day to make a big save to probably keep them with the 3 points is significant in itself. Interesting to note as well, I saw you were tweeting the lads at Opta about a clearance stat.
Yeah, Leyton Orient made 96 clearances in this game.
That's normal.
I don't know what else to say except that that's absolutely absurd. And I don't tweet Opta every weekend, but when I see something that I have a fair idea might be record-breaking, I will ask them for confirmation. And that's 2 in 2 weekends because we had Jack Moylan taking 10 shots last time out and now 96 clearances. And it is the most on Opta record.
But isn't it interesting that we sat here a week ago and I said I'd watched Richie Wellens post-match interview where he said, I want to play football this way, but sometimes as a manager you've got to realise you've got to mix it up and you have to change the way that you play. Next game, 96 clearances.
What I like is that he went...
Do you reckon they've all just been like booting the ball in training for a week?
He went 3 at the back, didn't he? And then... So it's Simpson, Casey and Forrester, and they all made tons of clearances. And then he brought Dan Happy on for the last 15 minutes, and he managed like 10 in about 10 minutes as well. Great level of clearance.
It long.
Well done, them.
Yeah.
Peterborough 3, Exeter 3 was pretty entertaining stuff. Peterborough 1 up, then Exeter 3-1 up. And the spoils were shared. 3 goals each. Patrick Sykert, 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Midfielder who's only signed a pro contract with Posh 1 month ago, scoring their opening goal. Played centre of the park alongside Archie Collins. I mean, he looks like a 17-year-old in terms of his physicality, but wow, technical ability on show. Yes, please. Great feet in a really tight spot, and then finished really, really nicely from inside a busy box. So really exciting stuff for Posh. Really exciting stuff for Exeter to have a striker like Jaden Wareham, who scored an 8-minute hat-trick at the start of the second half. And it's impossible to watch those goals when we've seen so many Jack Marriott goals recently and not think that Wareham reminds me so much of Jack Marriott. 9 or 10 years younger than him, but run around a lot, make a lot of runs off the ball, clever runs as well, and lots of them. And then when chances do fall to you, finish first time in a number of different ways. He can score with his head, different types of finish with his right foot in particular. Not terrible with his left foot either. Really impressive sudden burst of goal scoring there, but it wasn't enough to win the game. another young striker, Harry Leonard, scoring 2 headers for Peterborough to level things up. So Dan Green starts his Exeter tenure with 2 draws. He did make a double sub at half-time, which, they then scored 3 goals after that, which will be a real positive for them. And as for Posh, they're in 12th at the moment, 7 points off the playoffs. And it feels like they've hit a little bit of a wall. Down at the bottom, just a quick check-in. Vale on 23, Rotherham 31, then Northampton and Wigan 34, then the dotted line. Burton and Leyton Orient on 36, Blackpool on 37, Donny and Mansfield on 39, with so much still to play for, and all the teams having played a different number of games. The picture is still quite obscured, I would suggest, but it's very clear that Northampton and Rotherham in particular need to buck up their ideas, or they will be cut adrift within the next 5 or 6 games. That's the end of the League One segment of the show. If you want Championship, League Two recaps, they're wherever you found this one. Cheers, go well.